In the 90s, Playmates Toys made the deepest line of Star Trek action figures in history. My name's Keith, and I'm a collector working towards owning all 284. I've been a Trek fan for almost 35 years, and most people are sick of me talking about it. But somehow I've convinced my old friend Mike to review them with me on Look at My Star Trek Toys! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Look at My Star Trek Toys, a little show where, Mike and I, we talk about Star Trek toys. And this week, we are going to do what I never sort of expected to do, and that is a sort of a second thoughts about the 2023 Enterprise D. If you missed our unboxing and review of the 2023 Playmates Enterprise D, the link is down below in the show notes. But if you had seen that, you knew two things. One, I didn't have a copy in my hands yet. So I was looking at my original 1992 while Mike was unboxing the 2023 over at his house, many miles away. But now, thanks to our friends at Playmates, I do have a copy of the 2023. And so I was really only able to give my thoughts about what I could see on the screen live. But once I got it in my hands and was able to put them side by side with the original ship, I have a whole bunch more thoughts. So that's one. Part two, and is, to be fair, much clearer to see in person as opposed to over the screen on a pixel bus. Yes, we are well aware that the yellow things are the escape pods or lifeboats and not the windows. Lots of memes going around already, thanks to our friend JD. So pretty much, everything is a window if you really want it to be. The escape pods are pre-windows. Because once the escape pod goes out, it's a window. So there it is. All right. So if we hop over to Toy Cam, we have the two ships. We have the two Enterprise Ds.
Whoa, double D.
Oh, well, it does look like they're becoming amorous. So this is the 2023 version. This, of course, is the 1992 version. And so first thing I noticed once I had them both is it is a completely different sculpt. It's a completely different model. And if I were a better podcaster, I would have credited. Maybe Mike, you can find out. Somebody commented on the other video that these are probably sculpted from the two different shooting models of the Enterprise, because back in the 90s. They were actually shooting models. It was not CG. So they had a 6-foot version of the Enterprise and a 4-foot version. And these are different versions of the ship. And so the proportions, I think, changed a little bit, or some of the details were different on the actual models they filmed on the show, which would explain why there would be inconsistencies here. And then, of course, there's the third version of the ship, which is CG. And so let's face it, people who are really obsessed with this, the show itself is not consistent. So they're constantly changing and adapting stuff because the people working on the show are not paying as much attention as you are. But what you can see here, I think you can see it on the side view, is that the 2023 version is a lot sleeker. Because if you look at the size of the nacelles are fatter. The whole ship is a little stockier in 1992 and a little sleeker for the 2023. It's like that it went on a diet and became a little thinner. And if I were to guess, I would bet the proportions are probably more accurate in the 2023 than the 1992, although I may be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But actually, if I pop off a nacelle here, you can see right here, let me get them in the shot, that this is a lot thicker. The 1992 is thicker than the 2023, as well as having the sticker there. So which is interesting, and the drive section is also thicker and shorter. And so it's a little it's a stockier. Yes,
I think I found the comment you were referring to.
Okay, great.
That would be at Kavinsky Smith says, yeah, there was an update for the 6-foot model in Generations. They added windows for 10 forward to it as it had been changed on the 4-foot that they had been using for the filming of Post Season 3. The old model was just too damn huge to work with, but they went back to it for that, as the 6-foot was the only one they could separate the saucer. So this is probably more based on the updated 6-foot model than the old. The ironic thing being that if they had just stuck with it, they would have gone to CGI anyway.
Right. Okay, fantastic comment. Thank you for that. That makes a lot of sense to me. So I think that tracks. And so two other things. One, the 1992 is substantially heavier than the 2023. Oh. And so I think it definitely feels it is stockier both in weight and in proportions. And on the bottom, a lot of people have talked about how the bottom is sort of unfinished. It's unpainted. Well, that is also true of the 1992 version. And there's the scaling of it is different, because if you look at the size of the windows and escape pods, they're actually smaller on this ship in proportion to this ship. So it's really interesting because it has like a lot of the same amount, but the proportion is different. One of the biggest changes you'll see is on the back here, many more windows than on the detail there. So I think all in all, the fact that this is more painted, and I understand the bottom is not painted, but the top being more painted, and some of these were the decals I just didn't put on the original one. I think this feels so much more complete, and I think I actually like the 2023 more when I compare it to the 1992. Because it really does have a lot of some of the detail stuff. Now, understand, it's not all perfectly accurate, and as mentioned before, accurate is a moving target too, because they kept changing it on the show. So I don't know where some of these people determine which one is the accurate one. But I like the fact that the ship feels bigger. Because it feels like things are a little bit more in proportion to the size of because the D was absolutely gigantic.
And it's all comes down to use case, right? Like these are not supposed to be 1-to-1 replica models, and it's $40 at Target right now. It's $40. That's a cool sound. I am disappointed in the sounds. They are not as cool. Like the Mavis Beacon beep 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 typing. Somebody had asked if you hold down buttons, do they give you different cycles? But they do not. The cycle is static.
Yeah. I mean, the choice of sounds is odd. Obviously, some of them make a great deal of sense, but some of them are odd. It being able to separate is fantastic. I love the fact that it can separate. Would love to see, because if you're going to separate it, you might want to display it separate. I would love to have seen this finished. We talked about that a little bit, but now getting it in hand, like that's really, I really wish that would have been
for
done.
Me. Really, I wish that there had been my biggest two gripes that I actually have. And I'm interested if for the life of me, I could not get the stand to work without super gluing it. I had to super glue the stand together. So I don't know if you experienced that.
No, my plastic stand. I mean, it's loose, and you sort of have to. There are only a couple of you have to sort of angle it back, and then
I just mean the base of the stand and then the stand part. I could not get them to fit flush.
No, I got that to snap in okay.
Okay, great. So just know that not all of them snap correctly. And two, it just frustrates the living heck out of me that I can't leave the lights on. I know to drain the battery or whatever, but if I want to leave the lights on, I want to leave the lights on. That bugs me.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I said last episode, like, just give me a USB port. I can plug it in.
Yeah. And, I wanted to point out, Keith, as kind of just like a follow-up for my experience. Now, once again, I don't have the affinity that Keith had, or not want to say affinity. I like TNG, but I'm not, a super fan. I didn't know all the bells and whistles, but as a toy, I think it's pretty cool. And it was funny because you have to remember, as a toy, a lot of times when kids at least are in playing with something, you end up with that, right? So I was at a friend's house watching some baseball, and I just saw his kid. They must have got that at a yard sale, and that's, kids play with stuff and they leave it on the floor.
It's a good find at a yard sale. Yeah.
And for me, at the end of the day, I get it. Maybe there's some unfinished business or some bits and bobbles, but for me, it wasn't to walk around my house and play with it. It's for when I'm sitting there and I want something to look cool. That's mine just sitting on the table, and I think it looks
great,
freaking awesome. So for me, it's a win still.
I have another copy of the 92 hanging because it didn't come with a stand. So I hung it in one of my bookshelves, but you'll see it in some of the other videos. But this, I think, looks better on the shelf, and that I really like. And the other thing that I think has happened to many of us, I had the 92 sitting on my desk, and everybody knows my cat Charlie. He's famous, and of course he knocked it off the desk, and we lost both of the cells. Luckily, 90s Playmates, it is made of some tough stuff, so it's a little bit intentionally breakaway, which was great. I would worry about the 2023 getting knocked off the shelf, whether that would damage it more substantially than this. But yeah, so I guess like to say in short form what we've been saying long form about this, in hand, I actually like the 2023 D way more than I expected, and surprisingly way more than the 92 version. It feels more realistic in lots of different ways. It feels, as we've been talking about it being a toy, it feels a little bit less toyish than the 1992 version did, and feels much closer to something, a bookshelf display item, than a toy you throw at your brother. Now, is it a Diamond Select? No, of course not. Is it one of the more expensive things? No. Duh. We all know. We know that there are better models out there. We know that, they're more expensive. They're whatever. But in terms of hitting the Venn diagram of like a really nice thing on your shelf at the $40 price range, this is, I think, pretty damn satisfying. Knits to pick inclusive. So I was really excited to finally get to see it and play with it officially in my hand. And I think the 2023 is the one that's going to stay on the shelf, and I think the 92 is going to go back into storage. I think that is that's my opinion. So there you go. I think we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching our review of the 2023 Playmates Enterprise D. We'll see you back here next week with some more exciting custom action figures. Till then, this has been Look at My Star Trek Toys! Whoosh!